at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Yes, he is back. Going to be here all 3 days this week. Matthew, good to have you back. A fun week at Lake Guntersville, though.
Glad to be back. Yeah, Guntersville is always fun for catching fish. The goal of that week was to finish the top angler out of Oklahoma. There were 10 of us. One of the anglers fishing for Oklahoma happened to be James Biggs, who's from Texas, but fished for Oklahoma this past year. He caught 25 pounds a day and had 70 pounds. Did not give the rest of us much of a chance. So big shout out to James Biggs. I did bet him before the tournament started, though, Mark, that it would take over 61.5 pounds to win. Before practice ended, he found those fish. He said, well, on the bright side, you'll get $20. And then proceeded to sign it after day 2 when he only had 50 pounds. So that's going in the case. Along with 5 or 6 other autographed bills that I have. But yeah, James Biggs, 70 plus pounds. Good job on him on the Bass Nation Regional, headed the national championship.
What was his final weight?
70 pounds something.
It was over 70.
And it could have been a lot easier. Or it could have been a lot more.
Like
he got off his fish early, and then like he had a buddy who was a co-angler from Texas who he was like, hey, if I'm not on that spot by 9 a.m., go ahead, get in there, get yours. So, I mean, he like laid off his fish and beat everyone by 21 pounds. It's pretty embarrassing.
That's pretty good. Where in Texas does he live?
Outside of Dallas.
Why did he fish Oklahoma?
Because the first one was on Texoma. He also fished Texas. His goal this year was to win the BASS Nation Championship because he's also won the TBF Championship. He also wants to fish the Elite Series. So his goal was to become the first angler to win the TBF and the BASS National Championship.
So you can fish them both? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he qualified through Oklahoma, so that's why he fished it. There's a bunch of guys from like Oklahoma who go up and fish Kansas. Guys from Illinois who fish Wisconsin.
So if you wanted to, could you travel around the country and fish the federations if you wanted to?
I guess if you 5 years ago you could have fished the federations. Now you fish the nations, but
whatever. It's the same thing.
I guess so. I don't know how those rules work. I just know he kicked everyone's butt severely.
All right, man. You missed a great week last week.
Yeah. I listened to the podcast of the shows on the way home from Guntersville. About a 10-hour trip. So great job, Brad. Brad does a great job.
He does
breaking things down from the professional aspect.
And for the first time in the history of this show, we had 4 winners on. I had no idea that Prosnick was going to be on when we did the Andy Morgan show. Kind of crazy.
Just
4
lurking.
winners. And then we had the Boyd Duckett interview that a lot of people has opinions.
It's gone viral
on that show. It really has. It's kind of crazy.
It's an hour and 20 minutes of Boyd kind of, I guess, a mid-season State of the Union address for the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour on kind of going into an off week when there was no action following Easter weekend.
We'll get into that. I'd like your thoughts on a couple of things. But this week, a couple of really good shows. And then we're going to do the Sunline Hotline show on Wednesday where you get an opportunity to call into the show, voice your thoughts about anything in the world of bass fishing or anything else, as we like to call it. So looking forward to that on Wednesday. But today, the guy who's tied for the Angler of the Year race on the Elite Series, Patrick Walters, tied with Scott Canterbury, correct?
Correct.
At 360, I believe, is what the number is.
They're tied for first in the Toyota Angler of the Year standings.
And then also leading the Rookie of the Year race.
Right.
A fantastic story behind this guy. Had an enormous amount of experience fishing in the college ranks. And I am mesmerized by the actual quote that he had out there in a recent story that said, if he didn't fish collegiately, he probably wouldn't have graduated college.
I could understand that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of guys who are obsessed like that. I remember right after we started the College Bass, I remember we did that website for a couple years. I went to it was in South Carolina. I think it might have been on Murray. I don't know where it was. Anyway, he was representing South Carolina for the FLW college. It was him and Geddes.
Yeah.
Granted, Geddes was
And
the
they
co-angler.
won a national championship,
Yeah, Geddes
right?
was the co-angler. Patrick was the a boater, so he got to fish in the cup. And I remember kind of following him around. And then you see what he's done the past couple years in the Opens, obviously winning last year on the Red River, and then kind of coming in as, hey, you watch this guy fishes a lot. Like, he's on the water a lot. Like, is he on the water right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a current theme here, people. If you want to look at like your Poliniks and your Zaldanes and your Jacob Wheelers and your Jordan Lees, like, there's a reason why it's hard to get them on the phone.
Yeah.
It's not because they fish. Like, they fish a lot. Like, they have years way beyond their experience on the water because they've built their life around to be able to fish. So anyway, having a great year on the Elite Series, 4 consecutive top 25 finishes, and I believe he's fished on the final day twice, including this past one in South Carolina. So well on his way to making things happen.
All right, we'll talk to him. He's actually going to be on the water. I believe he's at Santee Cooper, his home lake. So we'll get to him here in about 10, 12 minutes, something like that. And then on Tuesday, we're going to have Marty Stone on, the color analyst for Major League Fishing. And we're going to talk to Marty about, obviously, stuff going on at Major League Fishing, but I also want to talk to him about the evolution of the game. For some of the younger viewers that we have and listeners, Marty was actually part of. Do you remember the 2 original teams?
Yeah,
I'm
he
not
was
talking
on
about
Team AutoZone.
Before that.
Before that?
Yeah.
Like the Crown Royal?
That's one of them. He wasn't on that one. Aaron Martins was
Crown
on that
Royal.
one.
Was it a Sitco?
Yeah.
And Team Sitco.
Yeah. Those were kind of the 2 original teams that
Who was on Crown Royal? Aaron, Skeet,
Peter T.
Was there another one?
Yeah, there was like 6 of them.
And Sitco was Gerald.
Swindle.
Marty Stone. Was Cruz on that one? Or was Cruz the AutoZone?
I don't think so. Cruz was AutoZone.
Who else was a Sitco guy?
I think there was one other guy. I think there was only 3.
Yeah.
But that was back in the heyday, man.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about, Marty, about the evolution of... That was when embroidery was the thing.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Chip Porsche, I think, actually has a Skeet Reese Crown Royal jersey.
Really?
Yeah, it's badass.
That's
or maybe
vintage.
It's an Aaron Martins. It's one of the Crown Royal guys.
Yeah,
the purple.
that's vintage.
The purple Crown Royal.
Vintage. Also going to get Marty's take on, and I've got... Where's it at?
Where is it? You can't end a sentence in a preposition,
no.
Mark.
Hang on. I don't know where it went. I thought I had it. Oh, now I'm making a mess.
What are you looking for?
Oh, here it is right here. I have a stack of papers that I'm going through, crunching numbers, you being the numbers guy. Well, I thought I'd jump right in there.
And some numbers disappeared, Mark. Some key numbers disappeared last week.
And we talked about that already. I want to jump in and get Marty's take on why some of the big name guys are not having a whole lot of success 4 events into the season. Big names, Matthew.
Mm-hmm. Kevin?
Skeet?
Yeah.
Mike McClellan?
Yeah. Dean?
Yeah. What's going on? Have they not adapted to the way that the game is played?
I'll tell you, frickin' Edwin has adapted. The guy's unstoppable.
Yeah, he's got 4 spinning rods on the deck of the boat.
No,
he knows how to play the
catches
game.
them on Baitcaster stuff, too. There's some guys who get it.
Oh, he gets it.
Yeah, just like Patrick apparently gets the Elite Series.
So, looking forward to talking to Marty. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we will have the caller show
on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, the Sunline Hotline will be open. Last time it was very cool. Got a lot of good response back from the viewers and the listeners. And then on Thursday of this week, we have our first one-on-one live lake challenge. Dude, 4 anglers from 4 different states. We got a guy coming all the way from South Carolina.
Now explain in 30, 45 seconds what the viewers, if you're not one of these 4, how you can watch and what exactly they're fishing for.
It's going to be on
4 random people.
Yeah, it's going to be on Grand Lake in Oklahoma on Thursday. We're going to get it kicked off at 9 a.m. Central Time. Each angler will have the opportunity to go out and surpass whatever the threshold is that we make that morning surpass the threshold within a 1 hour period, MLF style. And if they do that and none of the other contestants beat the time that they surpass the threshold, that person's going to win $2,500 courtesy of Striking Lures.
Wow.
So there you have it. I looked at the weather forecast. Weather should be good. We have a bunch of storms coming through tonight and tomorrow, but I think there's like a 20% chance of rain. So a guy will fish for an hour. If he doesn't get it, next guy goes up. They are limited to a specific area on Grand Lake. There will be 4 areas that will be predetermined, of which the anglers will find out where they're fishing the night before the event. They can go out, they can practice, they can do whatever they want. They just don't know what area of the lake that they're fishing in. So there you have it, Matthew. Looking forward to that. And a guy from Oklahoma, a guy from Arkansas, a guy from Louisiana, and as I mentioned, a guy from South Carolina.
I just noticed that they put the earnings next to the standings in Major League Fishing. I was seeing how big of a lead Edwin had.
Yeah.
310 points, Jeff Sprague 285, but they put their earnings now.
How much?
How much do you think Edwin's earned on the BPT?
In 4 events?
Yeah.
Let's see. He's got 1 win, right?
Yeah.
160,000.
181,000.
That was close.
Jeff Sprague second, 78,000. 91,000 for Jared Littner.
Wow.
Jordan Lee, 122,000.
Interesting.
Here's some interesting stuff. Let's see who has not cashed a check yet. Let's go your route. 666. Cliff Pace, 62nd place, 0. Roy Hawk, 0. Mike McClellan, 0. James Watson, 0. Suggs, Elias, Britt Myers, and Lambert are the only ones who have not cashed.
Wow.
But yeah, to case in point, I mean, Justin Lucas, halfway through the year, $6,000. Kevin Van Dam is in 65th. He's earned $6,000.
Wow.
He's really hurting. He might have to start selling some of his stuff.
I don't think he's hurting, man.
He might have to start wholesaling some of those.
I really don't think he's hurting.
Rojas, $6,000.
He's the $6,000 man.
Skeet Reese, $6,000. Swindle, $6,000. Bertrand, $6,000.
Wow. All right, we'll get more into that on Tuesday. I do want to mention this. There is a big announcement that is coming from the state of Alabama. Press conference taking place today.
Classic location, I'm guessing?
I think so. I haven't got confirmation on that, but I would assume so. I think it's going to be Birmingham. I know there were a lot of well-wishers, including myself, that they would go back to Lake Mead for the 50th anniversary of the Bassmaster Classic, but not going to happen. It's going to be a lake. Obviously around Birmingham. I don't think it's going to be Guntersville. I think the leading candidate right now is going to be Logan Martin. Could be Lay, but I think they're going to go Logan Martin. What do you think, Matthew?
Logan Martin has a lot of history on it. It's kind of a fresh, newer look. Yeah, I think that's a good pick. But it could be any number of lakes around that area. They're not afraid to drive from Birmingham. So.
I just don't think it's going to be Guntersville. I really don't.
They had one,
I mean, they're going to have an Elite Series there this year.
Depends on who's paying.
Who's writing the check? I don't know. My pick right now, if I had to guess, I would say Logan Martin.
I'd like to see a Spotted Bass Classic.
We'll see.
I guess Hartwell was kind of a Spotted Bass Classic. But
we'll see. So look for that announcement this afternoon. I would assume directly after the press conference, press release being issued on the announcement of where the Classic is going to be for 2020. All right, man, what else? Anything else?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Zero? Zip?
I'll tell you, I've been trying to get back in the swing of things. I got back. It's been a wild 3-4 weeks for me, so I'm just trying to get my bearings back, Mark, and get back into the swing of things.
You have 2 weeks at home, and then you got to hit the road again.
Yeah, I got a week at home. And then a Bass Nation on Sardis, and then headed to the
but that's just the weekend.
Yeah, the next Central on Table Rock.
Yeah,
Coast to Central. So
yeah, right, man.
I'm ready to talk to Patrick Walters. I am. It's a interesting story. I mean, the guy kind of came in as, we do with the outdoor scoreboard with Matt and Dave who do that there, but Matt does a 8-guy draft, and you get to draft your people just like fantasy football.
Yeah.
And my first 2 picks who we've had on, I went Brandon Cobb and Patrick Walters. And everyone went, hey, Patrick Walden. I said, yeah, you just wait and see with the schedule and with what this guy's done. And I've talked to Geddes about him. You know, he knows what he's doing. It's no surprise.
Yeah.
No surprise what Mr. Walters is doing on the water this year.
All right. Very cool. We're going to take a break. Come back with him live via Skype from the water. Everybody stay tuned. It's a Monday.
Sleek new design with easy control file. The clearest images underwater with uncompromising range. Live mapping from the touchscreen. View notifications, video, even Google Maps on screen. And for the first time ever, real-time view of fish movements with live sight sonar. HDS Live. New from Lowrance.
I got my power pole down, stuck in the mud in the bottom of the lake, sitting so still in the wind and the waves, could even be a hurricane. I got my power pole down.
AFCO has a new foul weather rain suit called the Hydronaut. A lot of the features that I really like about it first is the speed vent hood. If it's raining out, you know, how a person gets wet is when you run down the lake and the hood comes down. With the speed vent hood, it's going to stay up. It has a camera mount in the pocket on the chest. The Hydronaut has a 2-layer, 100% waterproof nylon shell. If you're interested in a rain suit that has a lot of cool features that's going to keep you dry, you need to check out the Hydronaut from AFCO.
Aaron Martins here. I'm going to be telling you about a new product by Sunline. It's Siglon PE x8. I've been using it almost extensively all year for my frogging, flipping, drop shotting, shaky heading, worming, jerk baiting. It's by far my favorite Sunline braid. I honestly, this is, I don't say this unless I think it's true, but honestly it's the best braid in the market out of any of the braids. Definitely check it out. It's a price point line, $14.95 for 165 yards, and that could last you a whole year, just one spool with using leader material. It's Siglon PE x8. It's my favorite braid, and I think if you use it, it'll be your favorite braid too.
Pros depend on hydraulic jack plates to get the best out of their boats. Do what they do. Demand Atlas performance. Atlas gets you from the bottom to the top in less than 8 seconds, even with the big 4-strokes. And when you gotta turn right around and get that heavy load back up in rough water, Atlas's innovative design and American-made components will get you there with confidence.
I'm at Depot. Just look for yourself. There's an Atlas jack plate on just about every professional's boat.
The Atlas hydraulic jack plate. You can depend on it.
All right, we are back on a Monday, kicking off the week. here in April in the middle of the spawn
Hey,
in a big part of the country.
just got this. Remember this? This was 5 years ago today.
What is that? I can't.
Remember when we went down to
Oh,
we went to 10 Killer and
that was 5 years ago?
yeah, today. And I
Wow.
hooked that gar. What was I even throwing? A top or something? I hooked that gar and Zona show had just aired where they lassoed it.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, get a rope out. We got to lasso this thing. And it was like that 60, 70 pound alligator gar.
Yeah.
We lassoed it. It's the
That
biggest-
was a fun trip,
Yeah,
man.
it was the biggest freshwater fish I believe the biggest freshwater fish I've ever caught.
That was a fun.
Put it
that
in a
thing,
boat,
how
we
big
left-
was that thing?
Probably about 60 pounds,
Yeah.
50, 60
And they were spawning or
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
spawning, and I mean, I hooked it in the beak, in the bill.
I thought I was going to get a finger cut off.
It
or
was, but
something,
remember,
man.
you put we made the lasso, and I swam
Yeah.
it through, and then you tightened it. I still
Yeah.
got the rope on the fish.
That's crazy.
That's a good time.
5 years ago. Wow,
Yeah,
man.
they got some
time's
fish
flying
that
by.
big in Santee Cooper. I mean, they've used that for bait for some of those flatheads and blue cats out there.
Yeah. All right. It is time to go to our special guest here on Monday. Patrick, you there, man? You there, man?
Yes, sir. I got you. I'm here.
All right. On the water today, as usual, right?
Oh, yeah. Hey, guys.
You are on the water a lot, aren't you, Patrick?
Always. It's springtime in the South. I'm saying I'm at least trying to fish 4 days a week at a minimum. If I can do 7, hey, we're doing pretty good.
You know what we're going to do? Here's what we're going to do, Matthew. The Sky feed is not that good. All right? So I'm going to call him back. I'm going to call him back on the phone.
And we're just going to do phone.
And then we'll do phone. Okay? You there, Patrick?
Hey, can you hear me okay? I can move a little bit and we can try to get some better service right here.
Okay, let's do that.
Oh, that's perfect right there.
Yeah. I'll call you back in like 20
No,
seconds.
it's
we
good.
got you
It's
now.
good right now. It seems much better right now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Weird.
All right.
That's good, right?
Let's jump right back into it. I am intrigued by the path that you have taken to get to the Elite Series and the history about your fishing career. Dude, you came up through the college ranks, and I've mentioned it numerous times on this show about the one statement that you made in a recent interview that you probably would not have graduated from college if it would not have been for collegiate fishing. Elaborate on that and tell us kind of what's behind that statement.
You know, my mom really wanted me to go to college to get a degree, but college fishing was what kept me there. To me, and all the guys in the fishing team, it was like our fraternity. It was what we were there for. And I mean, Monday through Thursday, I was in the library hitting the books because Thursday through Sunday, I was on the water. So it gave me a reason to study and to go to class because I was fishing as much as possible. And the college fishing, there was so much gratification from that where, you know, everybody was doing it. You meet your best friends in college fishing. You know, every weekend you look forward to seeing all your friends that were from Alabama and Tennessee and stuff like that. So it truly made you want to fish more. And that's what kept me there. If I was fishing, going to the library and doing school, and on the weekends I had nothing else to do, that probably wouldn't have lasted too long. I probably would have got it kicked out.
All right, here's what we're going to do, Matthew. I'm gonna hang up Patrick, and we're going to just call you back. And do it because the feed's really, really bad. So let's do this. I'm going to hang up, and then I'll call you right back.
Sounds good. Coming right back.
That was rather ambitious that you would think that we could get a feed on Santee Cooper.
He said quite possible.
Well, I mean, that place is like Jurassic Park, isn't it? Isn't it all just like out in the middle of nowhere with cypress knees?
Yeah. He said that it was quite possible.
It's good.
So,
I mean, you could tell what he was saying. It's just wasn't buttery smooth, which is what you've become accustomed to with BTL now, Mark.
All right, so let me dial it up here.
Did you find a sweater vest shirt?
No,
You did. I just noticed that.
I've had these forever, dude. I forget what line that Nike calls this. I don't know. Let's see here. All right, let's try this. That's crystal clear.
Yeah, we're good there.
Hey, Mark, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
we can. All right, much better.
I mean, we got the whole last
I'm gonna
answer.
put it up on pad and run to a cove real quick. We might be able to make the Skype work.
No, we're good right now.
Service, I think.
We're good
Okay,
right now.
sure?
yeah.
We'll just roll with this.
We'll roll with this.
We got to see. I mean, you're just sitting in a boat. We had was it Cruz? Cruz was actually fishing when we had him on. That was kind of
Yeah, he had a good signal.
cool. But
All right, man. Let's kick this thing off. A lot of people didn't hear the previous segment, and I'm going to repeat myself because I think it's a really cool part of what you've done in your career so far. There was a recent story on an interview that you did, and it mentioned that you would not have made it through college if it wouldn't have been for college fishing. And I think that says a lot, especially for a lot of kids out there that are looking to fish in college. But more importantly, you earned your degree, correct?
Oh, that was the main thing. You know, that was my mom pushed me to make sure I was going to go to school and get a degree. But with college fishing, it helped me stay there and actually focus and fish harder and stay in school. Because, you know, Monday through Thursday, I was in the library hitting the books because Thursday afternoon to Sunday, I was on the water in a different state or fishing somewhere. And without college fishing, I wouldn't have been able to do that. It was so gratifying being able to fish all the tournaments, and you meet your best friends through college fishing. You know, a lot of them now, they work in the industry or they're fishing now. It's truly amazing what college fishing can do. You know, I'm not going to say it created my career, but it propelled it. It really helps you know be a versatile angler, and it teaches you the industry and the contacts and how to work the business and how to be versatile and fish all these different bodies of waters. Because when we were college fishing, I fished in Minnesota, I fished in Wisconsin, we fished Oklahoma. I mean, we traveled and we did a lot of fishing. It teaches you a lot more than just fishing your home body of water.
What'd you get your degree in?
Business management and marketing. That way I was a double major, you know, because I figured fishing is a business, and I am a business. I'm always going to be marketing and managing myself. And if fishing, say, if it didn't work out, I'd always be able to start a business or do something along those lines.
How do you like, and I promise we're going to get into the fishing stuff here real quick, Matthew, but how has the business side of this game helped you based upon the experience that you have? From what I understand, your family has a very successful business, obviously with the double degree that you have. Do you like the business side of this game?
I do and I don't sometimes. You know, it's an absolute must, though. You have to be good and you have to be able to manage both sides because you're managing yourself because it is a business. So what you're doing is you have to make sure everybody's happy. Because sponsors are what make this what makes this world turn. You know, you have got to make sure the gears are greased and everybody's happy because they're the ones who are going to help you and make your life easier. So when you get the business side down and you can help them, they're actually in the long run they're going to be helping you and they're going to make your life easier. Instead of if you're going out there and just doing it on your own, it's a lot more of a struggle and there's a lot more question to it. So it's an absolute must, and it's a good thing to be able to kind of manage both sides of it.
And I don't want to put you in the I'm not going to put you in the Jordan Lee, Brandon Polinick category yet. I mean, you do have over $150,000 in earnings between the two FLW and BASS combined. You're leading the Angler of the Year race now, but I want to put you in that category as far as those guys in the mid-20s. You know, the Jordan Lees, the Matt Lees, Brandon Polinick, Justin Lucas back in the day, Jacob Wheeler, yourself. There's a lot of guys who are that age, and there's a lot of the older guys, and we talk to a bunch of people on the show that say, man, how do those guys get so dang good so young? And I think you're a prime example. Is there any way around it? Are you just naturally good, or do all you guys in your mid-20s, or the guys who were in their mid-20s catching them, is it a time on the water 100% why you're seeing the success that you're seeing?
I would say time on the water is 90% of it. You know, with this younger generation, there is a lot of guys. I mean, you look at Garrett Paquette, Drew Cook, I mean, Jake Whitaker. There's a lot of guys out there, Brandon Cobb, who are just great fishermen. And I'd say time on the water is one of the main things. But technology nowadays, it's helped us cut it down, the learning curve, so much faster, where the older generation, it took them 10 years to get the experience that we can get in, say, 2 now. we're able to cut it down a lot faster. We do a lot more research. But when you combine that with being able to do that, and then we spend as much time as we do on the water, it helps. And then every guy is just having that instinct. And when you combine all those together, it really creates a good fisherman a lot faster.
All right, so the other thing that I always talk about is you can spend as much time on the water as you want, but just like in any sport, if it's not productive time, if you're not learning, you can spend 1 billion hours and still suck just as bad as you did after the first hour. How do you kind of, I mean, you're out there, on Santee now. What would you say, are you trying to learn something every day on the water? Do you just go out because it's fun? How do you make sure that your time on the water is productive and that you're growing as an angler as opposed to just going out and having a good time?
Well, truly, I believe every hour of fishing is learning. You know, if you're not learning or you're not taking something away, then you're not paying close enough attention. You got to be looking at all the variables. What's the water level doing? Where did the fish pull off to? It's looking at everything, just being outside and observing. If you're out there for 100 hours, I can promise you're going to learn a lot of things. It's just paying attention to everything. And right now, we're just at springtime of the year at Santee. I mean, right now is a chance to catch a 10-pounder. Just having fun being on the water. The Costa Series is coming up here. There's a lot of people on the water. And just learning as much as possible. There's not one thing I'd go out there to learn each time. But at certain times of the year, if there's a new bait coming out that I want to play with or a new technique, I'll go and I'll try to learn that a lot of times. Or if not, if I'm just going fishing, I'll look up to the next couple of tournaments that are coming up, and I'll kind of make a prediction of, hey, what's going to kind of win that tournament? What kind of baits are they going to be, say, finesse tactics? Like when I go up north, I'll spend a lot more time with spinning gear. That way you're familiar with it. It's just like shooting free throws. It's muscle memory. So if I know something's going to come up, I'll go out there and I'll practice with that for a little bit. That way when the tournament comes, I'm not rusty or it's not brand new to you in the tournament time. Because when practice gets there and it's a tournament situation, hey, it's 100%. You better be familiar with everything because it's time to catch them.
All right, we'll get to some fishing stuff now. Looking at the schedule, obviously where you're from in South Carolina, some of the history you've had on both Winyah Bay and Lake Hartwell. When the schedule came out and you saw that tournament in Anderson and that tournament in Georgetown, you had to think, boy, those are going to be two really good opportunities for me. Now, in hindsight, you finished 11th on Lake Hartwell and 7th on Winyah Bay to put you in the position that you're in halfway through your rookie season on the Elite Series. Kind of gauge what you believe your level of success was in the South Carolina swing.
Well, overall, every tournament there's been some decisions I'd like to have changed, and my execution hasn't been 100%. When the schedule did come out, I was really excited about, especially the Winyah Bay tournament. But the Winyah Bay, that time of year, it wasn't my favorite time of year to fish that body of water. I like to fish it at, say, like a month or 2 months prior or a month later. It was we hit it kind of like dead on the spawn. And those fish, they don't really set up too well like how I usually fish it. I fish the Cooper River and stuff during the summer a lot of times, and I like to fish the main river where, the fish are just on the outside hydrilla. But during that tournament, they were in the spawn kind of dead in canals. And after the first day of practice, I knew I didn't have a chance to really win that tournament like I thought I was going to. And so after the first day of practice, I was mainly just going to go, to survive and get a top 10 in front of a home crowd. It was actually unreal and pretty surprising, the amount of people that showed out in Georgetown and such an amazing crowd that was there and how much family was there. It really meant a lot to be able to get that top 10 in that hometown. It was pretty something special. And for Hartwell, the fish were spawning there as well. And I was pretty happy with Hartwell. Going into Hartwell, I was still kind of looking forward to Winyah. So I was just going to try to survive and just get a top 35. But us fishermen, we're pretty greedy. We start a tournament day, I'm like, hey, I just want to get 5 fish. And so once you get 5 fish, you're like, hey, I better get 15 pounds. And when you get 15 pounds, you're like, well, I better shoot for 20. We never stop. And so at Hartwell, once I made the top 35, I was like, hey, I better go for the top 10. And then I actually ended up in 11th place and 4 ounces shy. And so you get a little buzz over that. But the main goal was just to get a top 35. So we accomplished the goal we had going into that tournament.
All All right, Patrick, first year on the Elite Series. What has been one thing that has really surprised you or shocked you 4 events into the season?
That these guys catch them. I mean, this is their job, this is their profession, that these guys are good. You know, you have to be on your A game and you have to catch them every single day. You can't take a day off of, you know, in certain trails, you know, you can have a one slack day, but if you slack up one day and you just try to go for a layup or be consistent, you're going to get past it. These guys catch them day in and day out, and they know how to find fish. What was surprising was, you know, usually when you're fishing, say like in college fishing or something, there'd be 200 boats, and I love to find off the wall stuff, like something way in the back of a creek. It's one stump or something, or one little culvert way in the back of middle of nowhere, and nobody would really kind of find that stuff. It was something you could catch 1 or 2 fish off of just randomly, but in the elites that you pull back in there and you have one little drain culvert, you know, like, nobody will know about this, we can go catch 1 or 2 fish off. You'll pull back in there and there's 2 guys sitting on it. It's that no stone gets unturned at the top level.
All right, what is one thing from the first 4 events that you have learned from a mistake that you have made that you will not do the remainder of the season?
Don't fish with old stuff. You know, actually at Lanier, I had an old crankbait I was fishing with. It was all beat up, and it had good hooks on it, and I didn't feel like breaking a new one out and putting new hooks on it. And I actually lost a 4-pound largemouth at the boat. Had the crankbait choked, and the bill broke off of the crankbait, and all I got was the bill back. So it's just fishing with quality equipment, quality gear, making sure all your hooks are sharp, your line's right. When you're fishing for $100,000, you better be fishing with prime stuff.
All right, I want to know, we ask this question a lot, and since you haven't been on the show before, are you a tinkerer, or do you modify the baits right out of the packet, or do you just take it out of the package and tie it up and get after it?
I definitely modify a little bit. I have to change my hooks. If I'm throwing a bait with treble hooks, I change the hooks every single time. I don't know what it is. Every bait comes with good hooks, but it makes me sleep better at night if I'm changing hooks. I don't change split rings too much unless they're pretty cheap split rings, but I do tinker a little bit, but not too much. Like plastics and stuff, hey, I'm putting it on and I'm just going. I would say I'm about in the middle. A lot of times I don't feel like color and stuff matters too much. I feel like there's shades, like contrast, like black and white and a green pumpkin and stuff like that. But my main belief is, hey, if you cover enough water and you get the bait in front of them, if you have the action of the bait right, you'll be a lot better off than worrying too much about how many strands of red are in a jig skirt or something. I think if you cover enough water, you'll be all right.
All right, one follow-up question on that, Matt, and then you can
mine's a follow-up, so we'll have 2 follow-up questions.
2 follow-ups. All right, I'm curious. It's kind of old school, and I haven't seen too many people do this lately. I want to know your input and your thoughts on dipping dye. Dyeing that tail or dyeing that whatever in soft plastics. Do you do that, and do you think it's important?
That's a tough question. You know, I've seen sometimes where I feel like it makes a difference. If there's a fish on the bed sometimes, or if I haven't caught anything in a while, I'll dip it some chartreuse or something or play around with it, and you'll end up catching some fish on it. It's almost like the hydrowave question. I do use it, yes. I don't use it every single day. Like if I'm practicing, I won't use it too much, but if it's a tournament time and I'm wondering, like, hey, I haven't caught a fish in a while, I'll break it out and I'll try it. It's definitely something that gives me a little more confidence, but I don't use it all the time, but I will break it out and I will dye it up sometimes.
Okay, so my follow-up question is on the crankbaits. Like I got a giant box of square bills and stuff. And most of them have stock hooks on it, and then the one I'm getting ready for the next day, for the tournament day, I'll change the hooks on. Do you have a box, fresh VMCs on all of your crankbaits already so you can just pick it out, or are you a dude who, as the tournament progresses, will change out the hooks based on what you need? What I'm saying is, do you spend 2 days before the season to put new hooks, or just put it on as you need them?
It goes both ways. Like if I know for a tournament, like say if I'm cranking at Lanier, I knew I was going to be cranking the DT6 solely, I wouldn't change every DT6 I had and put good hooks on them. That way I could just tie them on. But a lot of times, like my square bills and my deep diving crankbaits, they do have stock hooks on them because I don't know when I'm going to catch them on or which tournament that's going to be. And if I get on a bite in practice and I know I'm going to be throwing the DT20 on fork, I'll go ahead and I'll change about 6 of them out and have them ready for the tournament. But for practice and just throughout the year, I don't have them all preseason changed out because rust will just get in there throughout the year. And so I usually don't change them until it's game time. And if I do that, I'll change it the night before.
All right, I have a couple more questions, and then Matt, do you have anything else?
I'm sure something might arise.
All right, my first question is, how do you think things set up for you for the remainder of the season?
To tell you the truth, I've never been out west. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not sure how they set up. I just like catching fish, and I'm looking forward to one day at a time. I'm not worried about yesterday. I'm not worried about tomorrow. It's just what can I do each day to catch the most fish that Patrick can catch. I'm not worried about what anybody else can do or how they're going to catch them. It's just when we go to Fork, I'm going to worry about day one when we get there, and just what can I do. I'm excited about Fork. I think it's going to be a shallow tournament. And to tell you the truth, I'm a shallow water fisherman. I love to fish shallow. So every day I get to fish shallow, it's a good day. So Fork and Port Gibson, I think are going to be some fun ones. Then we're going to Guntersville in June. I'm really excited about that one. I would love to fish deep on Guntersville. I think that's going to be an exciting one. And then going up north, it's hard to complain about any northern fishery, just because the fishing up there, it's unreal. They truly have something spectacular, especially in New York. Growing up, when you would think of New York, all you would think about would be like large cities. And the first time I went up there, I was like, man, I can get used to this. It's a lot of countryside and a bunch of small towns, and the fishing's just phenomenal up there. So when the fishing's good, I don't care if you have to catch them deep or shallow up there.
All right,
I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
All right, very cool. I have a instant feedback question from Brad in Huskerland, which I'm assuming is Nebraska. Wouldn't you think, Matthew?
It's a safe assumption.
Okay, it says, do you throw big baits to specifically target larger fish, or just target schools of fish and hope that there are larger fish in the school?
Well, to tell you the truth, I think if an elephant eats a peanut, I catch a lot of large fish on, say, a trickworm or a stick bait. So if I am fishing a large school, I'll start out with a big swim bait or a big crankbait trying to, get that bigger bite. But I feel like if you're going to go out there and throw a Carolina rig with a brush hog out there on a deep school, you'll catch enough fish that you'll get that big one to bite. Sometimes I think the big bite does work, but I'm a big fan of just setting the hook. And so I like baits that catch a lot of fish, whether just plastics or just a normal size crankbait. I'd rather take the numbers game and try to cull up.
I mentioned this a little bit before we had you on. Kind of bringing you in was the first time I met you was when you and Geddes fished in the Forest Wood Cup in 2015, which probably seems like a lifetime ago now, but really was only just like 4 years ago. But I'm curious, you won the college national championship, which gave you a spot as a boater in the Forest Wood Cup. They're one of the biggest tournaments, in competitive bass fishing. What did, if anything, I'm just curious, what did that tournament do for you as far as moving forward, as far as your confidence-wise, maybe as far as sponsorships, as far as how serious you decided to start taking this thing? Because then you went to the Opens and you won in 2018, and that just kind of seemed to be kind of the catalyst. So what did the Forest Wood Cup and fishing for those days do for you career-wise?
It really just gives you that validation. I'd say, hey, I can fish with these guys, and I can fish. Everybody's got that dream growing up, like, hey, I want to be a professional fisherman. And once that first, like, the national championship happened, it was just like, hey, we can do this. And it just kind of showed, like, hey, we're here to fish. And that's the main thing. It's just that I love to fish. And then once that kind of the national championship happened, it was just kind of a trickle effect. It was the dominoes started falling, and it was just kind of just carrying that momentum ever since. Just nonstop fishing and say, hey, we're here to fish, and it helped validate kind of my career to start off.
I have one more question then. I don't think I've ever asked anybody this. I've wanted to ask someone
Oh, gosh, this is going to be a good one.
Do you think there are some people who are naturally talented at tournament bass fishing, or is it a learned trait that people get good at based on practice and decision making and who they're around?
100% it's a natural ability. I feel like there is a lot of people that it is a learned behavior, but you can see there's certain guys out there that just have that natural ability, that they have the instincts, they just know what to do and when to do it. Those are the guys to be, you kind of get scared of, that can just catch them like a Steve Kennedy, where he's not getting any help, he doesn't have the latest and greatest stuff, and he's flat out catching them just as good as everybody else, if not better. There's definitely a natural ability out there for it.
So there's some people that are listening to this, Patrick, that are just totally screwed because they just weren't. Weren't bored with it, man. Jeffries is over here going, "Oh no, I wasn't bored with it."
No, it's definitely a learned behavior, and you can get good at it. But when you mix both of them with the guys that do work hard and have that natural ability, it gets scary.
Okay, fair question. So there's some guys who are on the Elite Series that have made a career out of it, that have had to work harder or not work harder, work differently than other guys who rely more on their natural instinct as opposed to stuff that they learn over time and then become a better angler.
For sure, it's just time on the water and just fishing instincts, like you said. It's there's some guys that have it, and there's some guys that they do have to work a little bit harder, and they spend a little more time on the water, and they catch them just the same. It's just everybody has a different approach for it. It's just kind of everybody. It's just like behaviors. Everybody goes about it a different way.
Why are you laughing at me? I mean, he clearly has it. You look at him; he's young. So I thought that was a legit question. Mark.
I'm not denying.
Was that not a legit question?
Sure.
What was wrong? What was bad about that question?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
Well, you're over there snickering.
No, it's just, I'll tell you later.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. All right, man. I have one more question, and then we'll let you go. Get back to business on Santee. One of our good friends, Mr. Dave Rush, is from the same town that you're from there in South Carolina, and I give him crap about this all the time. I am dying to know, number one, have you ever hung out with any of the crew from Southern Charm?
I have not, but actually my sister went to, she was in college and she was in the same sorority as one of the girls that's on that show.
Have you ever, do you watch the show? Have you ever watched the show?
I do not. No, I think I've seen 2 minutes of the show, but my sister, she loves it. She's addicted to it. I don't watch it, though. I got better things to do.
It's based in Charleston.
I've never heard of it.
You've never heard of Southern Charm?
What is it, like one of those TLC shows or E! Channel? Or
I don't even know what it's on. I think it's on Bravo.
I couldn't tell you what channel it's on.
How do you know about this?
Oh, the wife is addicted to it.
Carolyn?
Yeah.
Watches Bravo and that stuff?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I would
Charm.
not take her as that.
Yeah.
I picture her more as like a home and garden.
No, she does that too. Yeah, she and then we went on vacation to Charleston, and that is a very, very cool place, dude. I get it why people live there. It's just outstanding.
You really take it for granted when you're from this area because it's so nice. You really don't see. You kind of just overlook it a lot of times, and then there's so many people that come here and just talk so highly of it. It truly is something special, and to have it in my backyard, it means a lot. And that's why I think South Carolina, too, is just one of the better states for making a versatile fisherman, because we don't have a bunch of great bodies of water, but we have a bunch of good bodies of water that are also versatile. Like we have Winyah Bay, then we have Santee Cooper, which is almost like a Florida lake, and then you go to Murray and Hartwell and Watery, where you can get blueback herring, and you can chase so many different bites, and you're all in the state and you're so close. It's a gold mine. It's definitely a hidden gem.
Very nice. All right, man. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. We appreciate it, and best of luck to you during the remainder of the season.
Guys, well, I really appreciate it, and thanks for having me on, and hey, tight line.
All right, man. Take care.
Hey, thanks, guys. Bye.
There you have it, Patrick Walters, and hey, man. Good dude. He's got his act together. He is extremely polished.
Very polished.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were you laughing about when I asked that question?
You were just kind of dissing all the people out there that don't have that natural ability.
I wanted to ask him because he's one of those dudes. You don't get to talk to a lot of those guys that are like that are young. I wasn't dissing anybody at all. I mean, there's
I'm not one of those guys.
We've had guys on the show who have won major tournaments and made over $1 million doing this, and they will say, listen, I gotta work hard.
Yeah.
I've got to put a game plan together. I've got to scratch and claw and grind for everything that I've got. And then you have other people who come on, kind of like a Patrick Walters. It's kind of like, man, you just kind of let your instincts flow, and as long as you're on the water and you're keeping up fresh and you're learning something, you just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Two different.
I get it. I still think you were dissing a few people out there. Anyway, the one person on the Elite Series, actually there's a couple, but the one that really sticks out to me that I'm somewhat surprised that he's having the season that he is Steve Kennedy. I really thought that he'd do a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's something. You talk about somebody that has a natural ability and instinct and the ability to adjust on the water, and he has just not gotten dialed in this year yet.
Yeah, it's been surprising, and I'll pull it up here in a second. I was actually looking at the Angler of the Year standings, which there were some names that you would expect to be in the top 10 there. I mean, the Patrick Walters thing does not surprise me. I thought Brandon Cobb would have a little bit better tournament. I expected him to be up there. But you know, he's tied with Scott Canterbury, longtime good, and then Stetson Blaylock, who's really having a coming out season after moving over. I mean, you remember he caught the heck out of him on the FLW Tour for the last 2 or 3 years before moving over to the Elite Series. But then Drew Cook, the Johnson brothers, and Shane LaHue. So 6 out of the top 7 guys halfway through the year were not fishing the Elite Series last year. And then, you know, Lowen and Cruz, you would expect them to have a solid season. But also alongside Steve Kennedy is Keith Combs.
Yeah.
You know, I remember Pete Robbins and some of the people wrote like, hey, you know, Combs is mad and motivated. And I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with going down to Florida, and he's on the bubble now. I mean, he's all the way down in 40th place in the Angler of the Year. Now, do I expect him to possibly make a little bit of a move at Lake Fork? Let's be honest here, Mark.
Yeah.
We've talked about home field advantages in the past with Casey Ashley and all these guys. And Jason Christie. Combs will be right up in there in the top 10 history of home lake advantages.
Yeah.
He spent more time on Lake Fork than probably the rest of the field combined, and seen what he's done in the TTBC there before. So that'll be a really interesting one to keep an eye on.
Yep. All right. I want to mention one thing, and then we're going to wrap things up here on Monday. There was one thing, there were numerous things, but I thought about this over the weekend, Matthew, and the statement from one of the questions that were asked in the Boyd interview was about fantasy fishing. Mm-hmm. And I know in the grand scheme of things, you may think that it is totally irrelevant. The thing that caught my attention and what I really pondered was, is there a better way for your fan base to truly engage in what is taking place during those events as the, whatever it is, the 7,000, 10,000, 15,000 people that do fantasy fishing over on the Bass and, well, actually it's just the Elite side, right?
It's just the Elite Series this year.
I think that's a mistake. And here's why, is when you have a brand new product, and I know it's been around. I know Major League Fishing has been around in the format that it's been in. But what an opportunity to engage the fans and engage people, and they just may not get it now.
100%. I guarantee that I have given Bassmaster, by refreshing and clicking on I've given them probably 2,000 page views.
Yeah.
Look at it this way. Now, I understand MLF is big, broad.
But he said they're not even going to do it in 2020.
I know. That's a great point that you're bringing up, and I've actually ran the numbers on this. So, okay, let's say you have a guy, and you're in fantasy fishing, and your guy fishes 4 days, has a good tournament, right? Mm-hmm. So 4 days. So let's say you check it 6 times a day because you're at work and you're not able to do it, but you're going to refresh the score tracker. But you're not going to do that because if he catches one, you're going to refresh it a bunch. Right. So let's just say he does it 10 times a day, fishes 4 days. So you're going to refresh it 10 times a day for 4 days. That means you're going to get 40 page views just on that. And not only that, but you're also taking time out of your day to be a vested interest, to emotionally be involved with the competition that's going on. You're now engaged. Yeah. Now let's say, there's 9 million people that are doing this. Let's just say that on MLF, that just 10,000, 8 billion people right?
I'm
or
with
10
you, man.
times a day. That is an additional 4,000 page views, Mark. Basically 500,000. And now you're also vested because you're taking time out and you're watching. And you're going to say, I want to see if the guy's on him. So then you're going to watch the post-game show that night. You're also going to click on the articles before the tournament starts. You're going to read all of the pundit stuff on Joel Shangle pens it. Here's what's going to go down at this tournament.
I'm with you, man.
I'm really glad you brought that up because
I just think it's a huge mistake.
Absolutely.
It's a huge mistake because it is a massive opportunity to get the fans
Who
involved.
can we get on the show that and this is not a fantasy fishing geek out. We're talking about how this benefits the organization. But FLW this year, this is the first year they haven't had fantasy fishing. Bass is your only option.
Yeah.
Who could we get on that could talk about the logistics behind it? I mean, are there multiple people that their full-time job is managing this fantasy fishing? Do they have to have insurance policies behind it? How hard is it to actually set up? Is it a massive undertaking? Or is it something that's a minor inconvenience that they just decided not to do? That's what I'm saying. Why? How much money do they put into their fantasy fishing platform?
All right. Once again, if they're trying to reach the folks, and I just posted something that I was going to bring up. If they're trying to reach the folks outside of the fishing industry, one of the phone calls that Mr. Klechko needs to make is to...
Mr. Klechko, fill our fans in on who he is.
For the regulars, he is the recent hire that MLF hired from NBC Sports about trying to get non-endemic, his experience, his knowledge, his Rolodex, to open up the revenue streams for Major League Fishing. Mm-hmm. One of the first phone calls that I would make would be to DraftKings and say, look, we've got this over here. This is what it is. Nobody's ever been involved from a professional fishing standpoint with DraftKings. Now, because of the success of DraftKings or FanDuel, either one, you're opening a brand to the market that you continually try to acknowledge that you're trying to capture.
I remember when FLW went to the $1 million, their fantasy fishing, it had $1 million, no entry fee, $1 million, Hulk Hogan, brother, fantasy fishing. But I remember there were a bunch of, thousands and thousands and thousands of people who played fantasy fishing, even though they never fished and didn't care about fishing, but now that they were exposed to it because they were professional fantasy league players.
Yeah. Yeah, and didn't one year the guy that won it on FLW was a professional fantasy player?
That's literally what I just said.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was intrigued by some of the statements on the instant feedback.
No,
sorry,
but I mean
man,
that's opening it up. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what they want to do,
that's
right?
Awesome. Yeah, get the
All right. Now the instant feedback's really starting to blow up there.
About what?
Just this whole fantasy thing. It would be more difficult to follow. There would be more strategy involved. You would need
on MLF?
more players. Yeah.
Guys, these guys just left Bass 70 at the top. They created their own league with a brand new format and an entirely new live stream structure. I think they can figure out how to do fantasy fishing. I don't think that's going to be the breaking point. Oh, we've completely started a new league, but we can't figure out the fantasy fishing format.
Yeah. My prediction is they retract or rethink or whatever and actually put something out there in 2020. That's what I think they're going to do.
I agree, even if it's just a pick the order you think they're going to finish in and the guy who gets the most points from that wins.
Wow. Joe from Florida, I would post your comment, but there is a 4-letter word in there. So
in regards to you and me?
No. He just said you guys are MLF. You guys and MLF are delusional. The rest of the world couldn't give a bleep about bass fishing.
Right, but I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably do. That's who we're targeting.
But if you want to try and
I see what he's saying. Yeah, it's not like you're going to start fantasy fishing league and then, Jim, who's an engineer in New York City and has never picked up a rod, is like, fantasy fishing? Hell yeah, I'm in.
There are people that do DraftKings and FanDuel
That's what I'm saying. How much of an undertaking is it? Is it way more of an undertaking than I'm making it out to be?
I don't think it's that bad.
Okay, then
I
why
really
would you
don't.
not just have the minor? Do they not understand?
Here's why: is I think they have their priorities with other subject matters or other thing that they deem more important. I think there's two important things right here, Matthew. One is to build the brand,
Right.
right? And whether it's with the people that follow fishing to begin with, you combine that with the people that don't, you are building the brand.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
The second thing is you have to showcase why your brand is the way that it is. All right. Not by using certain tactics that diffuse and deplete who you are competing against. All right. Showcase how good you are. Mm-hmm. Don't throw stuff and do things that make the other guys look bad. Make your brand look the best. And that's with anything, man. It's not just fishing or any kind of business like that.
I think it benefits the anglers too.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I got to be honest. Okay, David Mullins is on my fantasy team. I don't really personally know David Mullins. I know him to say, hey, what's up? But, dude, I'm checking to see where David Mullins is every hour and a half during the day. And when he catches one, I'm like, I knew David Mullins had it in him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't care less if he wasn't on my fantasy team. Let's be honest here. I like the dude, but he's not like a buddy or anything. I got nothing against him, but I mean, I sure as hell wouldn't be checking the standings every hour to see where David Mullins is at Winyah Bay.
Dude, there was a post earlier in the show that was giving props and thank yous to Patrick Walters for what he has done on whoever the guy that put the post up there, his fantasy team. He has a personal engagement based upon the performance of Patrick Walters,
right,
on his fantasy.
And then as you look at it, you see he's got the Rapala there, he's got the motor sponsor and all the hook and all that stuff and the Phantom. So I mean, you're just going to subconsciously be aware of those things, even if you're not going to go out and say, well, you know, I'm going to buy a DT6 because he's on my fantasy team. But the next time you're in the tackle store and that comes about and you see it, you know, you're going to obviously recognize it because of your
dude, I have said it.
towards...
I have said it for years. We are a puddle. This industry is a puddle. There is an ocean out there. And the biggest challenge in this game for what they are trying to do is to get people to take a look at that puddle and go, okay, I want to play in that puddle. No, I want to stay over here in the ginormous ocean. That is a massive challenge, Matt. You got to do everything you can to try and somehow, some way dip your toes in the ocean to where some of those people in the ocean want to be in the puddle.
Yeah. I mean, you got to turn the puddle into a hot tub with jets and jacuzzis and all sorts of things that make you want to come over and be a part of the puddle.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's just a regular puddle, then But I mean, if you've got like jets and bubbles.
Mark it down. Mark it down. I said it on this show. What is the date today? April 22nd, 2019. Right now, MLF does not have fantasy fishing. I am predicting they will have fantasy fishing by 2020. And if they don't, it is a massive mistake to try and not engage the people by not doing it. We'll see. Would you take that bet? That they would have it?
Will the 2020 fantasy fishing winner be recognized at the 2020 Red Crest?
Could be. Could be. You know, throw some of that money. I mean, everybody knows they are spending money like crazy.
Are we thinking about this too small? Why would you worry about the 20,000 people that are going to play the fantasy fishing when it could be a pain in the ass and you're trying to reach the 2 million people that aren't going to?
It's not. All right. And what a better way than form some type of a relationship. You're supposed to be the biggest and the baddest. All right. Walk into DraftKings, walk into FanDuel and go, folks, this is what we got. We want to get you guys
involved. So that
involved.
new guy that they just hired for a ton of money, who's like the man, who's been with NFL and all that stuff.
Yep.
Like, do you think he has contacts at those places?
I would think so. I've never done FanDuel or DraftKings, never seen it. I don't know what other sports that they have. I don't know if they have bowling. I know they have golf. That I do know because I remember referencing golf in a story that that I've read in the past on USA Today. So I don't know. I really believe that they are going to reevaluate and make the decision, you know what, we're going to do fantasy fishing. We're going to do it. So we'll see. I could be totally wrong.
No, it's I'll be, from a personal standpoint, I know exactly what's going. And this is the first year I haven't been at every single Elite Series, right, Mark?
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie, I've forgotten a couple days that MLF was on.
You've been busy.
But I've been busy. But if I had a vested interest over there, if I had picked Jacob Porosnik in North Carolina because I knew beforehand that he'd been over there a little bit, I guarantee I'd have been checking that every single day instead of being like, oh, I missed the shotgun round. Let's go see what happened at the end because I was on the water or something.
Yeah.
I'd have been checking that just like I checked my Elite Series. It was like, come on, Patrick, you need a 4-pounder. What the hell's your problem? This is your home water.
I'm with you. We're going to see what happens. We'll see if my prediction comes true.
Did you see that? Stetson apologized to my poor fantasy fishing performance.
That's pretty cool. All right, everybody. That's kicking off the week right here on a Monday. I want to thank for being a part of the show. I know it was a little rough there with the Skype feed, but we got
he
that
was
all
not
cleaned
rough.
up.
He was a polished.
Oh, great dude. Really, really good guy, having a great year so far. So tomorrow, Marty Stone, we're going to reflect on his role with Major League Fishing and also reflect back on some of the stuff that took place early in the bass fishing game, Elite Series wise, right before the Elite Series, and talk about some of the sponsorship deals, things that were part of the game in the early late stages, I guess. The infancy stage of all the wraps and jerseys and embroidery.
Patrick Walters' FLW profile, he's just like boating a giant, and Geddes is on his knees with the netting.
Hey, man, you need a good net man, right?
Yeah,
right?
Geddes could catch him too.
All right, tomorrow, same time, tune. We're out of here.